Okay, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at why we use color and how color actually fits into our user interface design. One of the mistakes that many students make, particularly computer science students, is a gratuitous use of color. You just got wild abandon of colors that make no sense. So it's very important that we understand why it is we're doing and what we're doing for. So there are two main purposes to put color into our user interface. One is because we want to attract attention, and two is because we want to set a mood. Now, setting a mood is important because how people feel about what they're doing has a huge amount to do with how they adopt what it is you want. So you need to think about how we want people to feel when they're actually using whatever this is. Now, this might be a website, this might be an application. What is the emotional state that we're trying to induce? Very important. And frequently we forget about that, or at least ignore that that's a role. Okay, attention. First point, color is very rarely helpful in conveying information. So color coding things, it doesn't actually work very well. If you're doing charts and graphs, it can work a little bit, but people actually have to think really, really hard. So conveying information with color is a problem. It's also a problem, remember when we talked about the anatomy of the eye, remember we've only got a little bit in the macula that actually has color. Most of our eye sensory apparatus is grayscale. So it's rarely helpful to convey our information with color. Color can draw attention. That's why flowers are colorful, so they draw bees, so the bees can find them very quickly. Pretty colors draws attention. And we want to be careful with the demands on our attention. We rarely want to reach out and try to grab somebody's eyeballs and force them to look. People are not happy with that. We want to guide them where to look. We don't want to jerk them around and demand where they look. Sometimes we do, but not very often. So we want to be careful on how we demand attention. We're going to guide and force, and color is useful for that. Okay, so in demanding attention, what I've done, this is a technique that I recommend that you use. So this, I took a snapshot of a web page, I put it into Photoshop, I put it in Gaussian blur, and I blurred it. It's very important to blur it. Now, one of the things they teach over in the design school is squint. I'm actually not very good at squinting. I am pretty good with Photoshop. So I blur it. What the purpose of the blur is to get rid of all the words. I want to get rid of all the words because if I get rid of all the words, then I can just see emotionally, visually, what is it I'm attracting. And what we immediately see is big color spot here, big color spot here, big color spot there. Okay, this a little bit, but this is just sort of bland. Just sort of bland. Okay, so attention is going to be drawn to these three places. All right, let's look and see what those three places are. Well, for this particular website, we're drawing attention to our logo. That's probably a good idea, although it communicates castle, which is what a schloss is. And yet, this communicates the castle, and actually a place for holding meetings. And one of the messages they are trying to send is, look, this is a great, wonderful, peaceful, medieval place to come hold a meeting. You'll love it. Okay, that's what they're trying to communicate. So that's a good image to communicate that. And then the other thing they're using color for is which of these tabs is currently selected. Okay, and if we look, this one stood out. So in terms of if this is the three things I want you to know, which they may very well be, good use of color here. Little tiny snatch of color right over here on the calendar to show us what that current selection is. So attention use, not too bad here. Okay, let's try this one. This one is all over the map. We've got colors of all kinds scattered everywhere. So if I was to look at this, I would say that the first place you want me to look is here. And then I think you want me to look here. And I think you want me to look here. Those are the three big areas. I don't think you care much about this, and I don't think you care much about this. or at least you're not trying to visually draw my eye to those things. So let's look and see what it actually is. Alright, over here on the left where we said was the big thing, that's the advertisement. This particular site, if you don't see the ads, they don't make any money, because that's where they're getting their income. Up here, it's This Is Who We Are, hometownnews.com, and more ads. Let's talk, let's get money. Okay, so since they're all about selling ads, they've used their color to make that stand out. Now, one of the challenges here is people come to this site and they say, I don't know about Hometown News, which is why I got here, but I'm quite convinced you're trying to sell me something. I feel violated. You are demanding that I look at your ads when what I really wanted to do is look at your news. Well, that's a balancing act you have to play, because maybe the answer is, to me to stay in business, I don't want you to get my access my information unless you're going to look at my ads, because I need the money. Okay, this part down here, it turns out that it's Hometown News. So this is the major way you select how to get closer to your hometown. Okay, in that sense, using color here to draw everybody's attention. The colors don't actually mean much. They're just differentiating the states. But using that to draw my attention to this area, it's pretty effective here. Better than reading this. It's telling me that I can click on that. Better than reading this, the color drew me here. Okay, not so bad. It's not the purposes I would feel great about coming here, but it supports the business model of what they're trying to accomplish. Okay, that was a couple of examples. Now let's think about mood and setting. Remember, mood is the feelings that we want, the emotional state that we want to evoke. And here's a way to think about it. Over here on the right, what we have is we have a set of colors. I actually took a website and blurred it like we did before. Over here on the left, I have a little survey for you. Now, what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause your video. But just before you pause that video, which you can't hear me now because you paused the video, I apologize. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to take this survey over here on the left. You can take this survey, just pick one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these that you think is represented by what you see here. Okay, one of the reasons, again, we blurred is all we're capturing is the color. We're not capturing any of the words, because if you saw the words, if you saw the topic, it would sway you very clearly. I don't want to sway you with the words. I'll get to words later. I want to sway you with the feeling that you get from looking at something that looks like this. Okay, pause your video, fill out the form. Okay, by now you should be back. You should have done a quick note, and you've got it. Let's look at what the site was. Okay, take the things that you selected and see if they match what Walmart is really trying to sell. So the emotions, happy, intense, baby, child. You know, did you select baby or child? Did you select a high energy? Did you select a trend towards female? Because it turns out it's the mother that actually buys all the kids' clothes. If you did that, then they accomplished their goal. They evoked the feeling, they evoked the attraction, the emotion for the right kind of thing. Now, for your particular application, you may have a different emotional survey. You may have a different set of attributes. That's okay. I just put these up here really quick as an example. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, very different one. Yeah, I'm going to want you to do the thing again, pause, and go through and write down these things. So pause now. All right, you're back. You wrote them down. Let's see what they match. Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Did the set of emotional ideas match what you think Dungeons and Dragons is really trying to sell? You can have your own commentary about what you think about Dungeons and Dragons. All right, let's try one more. Okay, quick pause the video and do your analysis. Okay, you're back. Again, one more time, for your particular purposes, Your survey may be different because you're trying to accomplish different things. You're trying to communicate different things with your design. Okay, let's look at who this is. It's IBM. Okay, these colors don't actually work for IBM. In fact, most of the time when you look at IBM's site, it looks like this down here. Upbeat, positive, bright, excited. It looks like this down here. What they're trying to do is they're trying to sell the idea of some of their crisis management software and systems that they sell to police departments. But in the process, they have evoked a mood for this page that is dark, dangerous, introspective, probably not the one they usually sell. Could you have messaged this in a different way? Maybe. Or maybe you say that, if you're IBM, I want to message this right now. That is the mood I want you to feel. I want you to feel insecure. I want it to feel dangerous, because then you will want to adopt what I've got to sell. Maybe. Who knows? Okay. Simple technique. Take your user interface design as you've got it. Blur it out so there are no words, no structure. All they see is the sense of the colors. Create you a little survey of emotions with lots of alternatives. And go give it to somebody and say, what do you think? So I give the people this blurred thing. What do you think? Because what you want to know is, are you generating the kind of mood, the kind of feeling that you intended to generate in your user audience? It's a quick thing. Now, how do I actually go about designing a mood? We've talked about analyzing these moods. How do I go about creating one? Couple of simple techniques that will help you get started. First one is, let's suppose I want to make a new online games that families can play together. Maybe that's the site I'm trying to create. Online games for families to play together. So what I did is I went out and found a bunch of websites about families and about children. And then I do my blurring. I still want to test it with my prospective users to see if they generate the same feelings that I think they ought to. But a quick way to sort of get at the mood. Look at a bunch of things that are the same, blur them up, look at the color combinations. All right. Now, if we want a mood, our materials that we're going to put in our user interface are going to live in a setting, and that setting is going to be dictated largely by the background color. So the background color has a lot to do. And in some cases, we want a neutral mood. Okay? In some cases, we want the content to sort of set the mood, and we want the site or the user interface itself to be neutral. Cases that this might occur would be video sites. Okay, with video sites, I don't want the colors of the background conflicting with the colors in the video. I want the video to stand out. News sites, I'm going to have stories of all kinds: flood, fire, happiness, joy, celebrities, pets, kids, whatever, all kinds of things. I want the site itself to be neutral. So setting a neutral mood. Basically, no saturation. Completely abolish hue. Now, if we're in a designer's world, we want the things that we're presenting to pop. Okay, in that case, we use black. Most video sites, black. Most drawing programs, black. What we want to do is we want to take the things that we are designing and creating. We want no conflict from the background, and we want them to pop. Okay. Now, for newspaper sites, black is probably too intense. Okay? So what you will find on most news sites is the mood is neutral and it's white. White is the basis, and that lets us put anything we want on it. So everything goes well with a white shirt. So whatever we put on it, we want it to not be overcome by the background. So neutral mood. If you want to be intense, it's black. If you want to be less intense, it's white. If you want a little more upbeat feeling to your whole site. Okay. Sometimes, however, the setting is biased by the mood. We're not a news site. We are medical information. We are educating pilots. We are whatever. So I actually want to establish a mood. I want to establish we are Dungeons and Dragons. I want to create that mood. I want to set it, and I don't want to be neutral about it. I want it to bias what it is. That's fine too, but it's a decision we need to make in choosing what the background is that all of our materials are going to live on. Okay, so mood. What we're going to do is we're going to put together a quick design, blur it up, show it to create a survey of emotional feelings and attractions that we want to create, and go out, take our sample users and say, do the things I get from my people in response to my color scheme match the mood that I think I wanted to create? If not, try something else. So, color. It's for grabbing attention, focusing people's attention, and for establishing a mood. To establish a mood, you pick the relevant images, you blur them, select some colors, then you go try your colors out for people's response. When I'm designing a user interface, it has a setting. Black for intense, mood neutral. White for less intense, happy, upbeat, but mood neutral. And then color because I have a particular mood that I'm trying to sell. There we go. Some quick ideas about how to use color to draw attention, set the mood. Have a good time designing.